Chosen ones, this Saturday will be unbelievable. Something beautiful is about to begin. It started with a message that appeared in the most unexpected places. At first, Maya dismissed it as some viral campaign, an overhyped marketing trick to get people's attention. She saw it on glowing billboards along the highway, at bus stops where students gathered with coffee in hand, even flashing across her phone screen for a second before vanishing. For simple words, you were chosen. Everyone else seemed to ignore it, or maybe they didn't see it at all. Her friends never mentioned it. Her professors carried on as if nothing unusual was happening. But for Maya, those words followed her like shadows. On Friday night, when she leaned over her desk to close her laptop, the reflection on the black screen wasn't her own face at first. It was the words, burned faintly in light, as if written from the other side. She blinked and they were gone, leaving only her pale, startled reflection staring back. Still, she forced herself to brush it off. Maybe it was stress. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe she just needed sleep. But the next morning, her world tilted. She stepped into the bathroom, yawning, ready to splash water on her face. The mirror was fogged, though she hadn't turned on the shower, hadn't run any hot water at all. Her stomach tightened as she wiped her sleeve across the glass. The fog remained. Letters formed as if traced by an invisible finger. You were chosen. Maya froze. The toothbrush slipped from her hand and clattered against the sink. Her pulse thundered in her ears, and a single, unspoken question filled her mind. Who was choosing her? And why did every message hint at something coming? This Saturday? By Friday evening, Maya realized she wasn't alone. At first, she thought it was only her imagination. Some cruel trick her mind was playing. But then, scrolling through late night, forums and scattered social media posts, she saw them. Hundreds of strangers across the city, and even across the country, claiming they had seen the same words. You were chosen. The stories were eerily similar. One woman swore it appeared in the frost on her car windshield. A man claimed he saw it written across the sand at the beach, the letters vanishing when the tide touched them. Another insisted it flashed across the sky during a lightning strike. Some laughed it off, calling it a weird guerrilla ad campaign. Others were terrified, whispering about prophecy, secret societies, or even divine intervention. But amidst the chaos of speculation, a small group began to take it seriously. They called themselves the Chosen Ones. On an encrypted chat room, they arranged a meeting Saturday. Riverside Park, midnight. Maya read the post 3 times, her stomach tightening. She told herself she shouldn't go. She didn't know these people. It could be dangerous, another internet trap. But deep down, a strange pull tugged at her chest, as if something beyond her control was urging her forward. It didn't feel like coincidence anymore. It felt like design. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon that Friday, Maya's decision was made. She packed a jacket, slipped her phone into her bag, and tried to calm her racing thoughts. Whatever waited at Riverside Park, she knew one thing for certain. Her life would not be the same after tomorrow. Saturday didn't feel like any ordinary day. From the moment Maya woke, the city seemed to hum with an energy she couldn't name. The air felt charged, heavy, as though a storm lingered on the edge of the horizon. Street lights along her walk flickered one by one, stuttering as she passed beneath them. Dogs barked at nothing, their eyes following shadows that weren't there. And the birds, hundreds of them, moved in frantic, swirling patterns across the gray sky, spiraling until the very air seemed to tremble with their wings. By the time she reached Riverside Park, her pulse was pounding harder than the drumbeat of her steps. Dozens had gathered already, scattered across the open grass like pieces of a puzzle waiting to be assembled. Some looked frightened, clutching their phones as if hoping to wake up from a nightmare. Others stood rigid with awe, their eyes wide, searching the sky as if expecting something or someone to arrive. Then Maya noticed it. A faint glow, pulsing like candlelight, shimmered on the wrists of the people around her. Each bore the same intricate sigil, etched not in ink but in light itself. Some were faint, like distant embers. Others blazed brightly, casting eerie shadows across the grass. Her throat went dry. Almost without thinking, she pulled back her sleeve. Her skin shimmered faintly, the mark blooming to life beneath her veins. The lines shifted like liquid fire, alive, weaving themselves into the same symbol she saw on the others. She staggered back, gasping. It didn't hurt, but it wasn't painless either. The sensation was strange, like her blood carried both heat and electricity. Around her, the others whispered. They didn't know the meaning. None of them had ever seen the mark before, and yet, staring at it, they all felt the same undeniable truth. They recognized it instantly. This wasn't random. This wasn't a trick. Something ancient was awakening, and they were at the very center of it. The ground trembled beneath their feet, a low vibration that seemed to rise from deep within the earth itself. Leaves shuddered in the trees, and ripples spread across the dark surface of the river as though the water, too, was listening. Then it came. A voice. It was not male, not female. It had no accent, no tone that could be placed in the realm of human speech. It was both thunder and whisper, echoing not through the air, but inside their very minds. You were gathered not by chance. You are the bridge. You are the beginning. The words cut through every thought, bypassing logic, sinking straight into their bones. All around her, people froze where they stood. A few collapsed to their knees, overwhelmed by the weight of the message. Others clutched their glowing wrists, trembling as if the mark itself pulsed in answer to the voice. Maya staggered back, her breath caught in her throat. The sound, or whatever it was, didn't just fill her ears. It filled her chest, her veins, her soul. She pressed her hand against her heart, certain it might burst from the force. It wasn't just speaking to them. It was inside them, rewriting something deep within. Her vision blurred. For a moment, she saw flashes, cities bathed in firelight, towers collapsing, skies cracking open to reveal impossible colors. Then, just as quickly, the visions vanished, leaving her gasping, sweat beading on her forehead. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a coincidence. The Saturday she had feared all week wasn't about an ending, as she once thought. It was the beginning of something vast, terrifying, and unstoppable. A new dawn, one that demanded they choose whether to rise with it or be consumed by it. Not everyone bowed in reverence. Among the gathering, one man stepped forward, his face twisted with anger and defiance. His wrists still glowed faintly, but his eyes held no fear. "This is madness," he shouted, his voice breaking the heavy silence. "Some trick, some hallucination. If you are real, if we are truly chosen, then prove it. Show us something beyond words in our heads." A hush fell over the park. Even the air seemed to pause, waiting. Then the sky answered. With a sound like fabric ripping, the night above them split open. A jagged seam of light tore across the heavens, widening until silver poured through. Rain that was not rain, shimmering droplets that fell without a sound. The cascade touched their skin but did not soak their clothes. It clung to them instead like sparks, sliding across their arms and faces before dissolving into warmth. The grass beneath their feet hissed and sizzled as the liquid light sank in, etching glowing symbols into the ground, shapes that none of them could read, yet all felt the meaning of deep inside. But for the mocking man, the rain was not gentle. He screamed, clutching at his chest as though invisible hands were tearing him apart. His glowing wrist flickered violently, then extinguished, the mark fading into nothing. His knees buckled, and he collapsed onto the ground, gasping in terror. The others watched in frozen horror. They could feel it, his bond severed, his connection cut. He was no longer chosen. The silver rain continued to fall for only a moment longer before vanishing as suddenly as it had come, the sky stitching itself closed. Silence swept through the park, heavier than before. No one dared to speak, not even to comfort the man who writhed in the dirt. Every heartbeat thundered with the same truth. This was no illusion. This was power, and trials had only just begun. The silence after the trial was suffocating. Even the night itself seemed to lean closer, waiting. Then, without warning, the voice returned, softer this time, yet more commanding than before. It did not speak in word alone. In an instant, their minds were pulled elsewhere, as if their eyes had been opened to a reality layered over their own. The park dissolved around them, replaced by visions painted across the sky like living murals. First came beauty. They saw cities reborn, not of steel and smoke, but of light and green. Towering structures entwined with trees, homes humming with energy drawn from the earth and sun. Children ran barefoot across clean fields, their laughter echoing beneath skies free of smog. Rivers sparkled like glass as fish leapt in crystal waters. The air shimmered with peace, a world finally healed. But before hope could root itself, the vision shifted. Darkness bled into the edges, swallowing the light. Towers burned, collapsing one after another as fire raged unchecked. Streets flooded as oceans rose, swallowing coastlines and devouring entire cities. The cries of children replaced their laughter, echoing like ghosts through smoke-choked skies. Shadows moved across the earth like a plague, faceless and unstoppable. Maya clutched her temples, gasping. The images were too vivid, too real, as if the future itself was being carved into her mind. Around her, others wept openly, their marks pulsing in violent rhythm with the visions. Then the voice spoke again, thundering inside them. You have been given sight, so you may choose. A dawn or a downfall. Creation or collapse. The world bends not to fate, but to will. Your will. The visions snapped away, leaving only the cold night and the trembling group in Riverside Park. The grass still glowed faintly with the marks burned into it from the silver rain, but the future now weighed heavier than ever before. Maya staggered, her chest tight. This wasn't just about being chosen. This was about deciding what the world would become. The silence after the trial was suffocating. The kind of silence that wasn't empty but full, like the whole world was holding its breath. Even the night itself seemed to lean closer, listening. The air hung heavy, pressing against their skin. Then, without warning, the voice returned, softer than before, but so commanding it felt as if the earth itself bent to its will. It did not speak in words alone. A pulse of unseen energy rippled through the park, and in an instant their minds were pulled elsewhere. It was as though reality had been peeled back like a curtain, revealing another layer beneath. One moment they stood in Riverside Park, and the next the world melted into visions painted across the sky like colossal murals alive with color and movement. First came beauty. They saw a world remade. Cities rising not from concrete and steel, but from harmony with nature. Towering structures grown from living wood and stone, glowing softly with energy drawn directly from the sun and stars. Children laughed beneath vast skies unclouded by smoke, chasing each other through green fields where the air was crisp and pure. Crystal rivers sang as they cut through valleys, the water so clear it reflected the heavens. Humanity moved as one with the earth, no longer masters over it, but stewards within it. For a fleeting moment, their hearts swelled with wonder. But before hope could root itself, the vision fractured. The light dimmed, edges darkened, and the beauty dissolved into horror. Cities burned. Towers collapsed, crumbling into ash. Oceans swelled with unnatural rage, swallowing coastlines, leaving nothing but fractured skeletons of civilization jutting from the waves. The laughter of children twisted into cries of terror, haunting echoes that pierced the smoke-filled skies. Faceless shadows spread across the land, devouring everything in their path like a living plague, leaving only silence in their wake. Maya gasped, clutching her temples as pain lanced through her skull. The images weren't just pictures. They were memories of futures not yet lived, carved straight into her mind. Her knees buckled as her mark pulsed violently, each throb syncing with the visions. Around her, others screamed or wept openly, collapsing beneath the weight of what they were being shown. Their glowing marks blazed brighter, as if alive, burning in rhythm with the voice. And then it spoke again. This time, Its words struck like thunder. You have been given sight, so you may choose. A dawn or a downfall, creation or collapse. The world bends not to fate, but to will. Your will. The visions shattered like glass, leaving them abruptly in the cold stillness of Riverside Park. The night returned, but the world felt different, charged, trembling with possibility and threat. The grass beneath their feet still glowed faintly with the sigils burned by the silver rain, symbols of an ancient promise or an ancient curse. Every breath was heavy. Every heartbeat echoed louder than it should. The weight of the future pressed on them all, but most of all on Maya. She staggered, her chest tight, her hand pressed against the mark glowing faintly beneath her skin. This wasn't just about being chosen. It wasn't about destiny whispered from the shadows. This was about power, and about deciding what the world would become. Not everyone accepted the burden. For days, unease had been brewing among the chosen. Some spoke of destiny with trembling reverence, others with hungry ambition. Power had been revealed to them, but with it came temptation. And temptation finally broke one of them. He was a man in his 30s, tall, with eyes that burned not with faith, but with desperation. Maya had noticed the way he stared at her since the trial, the way his gaze lingered not on her face, but on the shimmering mark glowing faintly beneath her skin. His envy was sharp, almost poisonous, and now it had reached its breaking point. Under the cover of night, while the group argued about what the visions meant, he lunged. His hand shot forward, gripping Maya's wrist with iron strength. Before she could pull back, he pressed his glowing mark hard against hers, his teeth clenched in a snarl. "I'll take it," he hissed. "If I carry more of it, I will lead. I will control what comes next." Maya's scream tore through the air. A searing heat erupted between their joined marks, brighter and brighter until the others shielded their eyes. For an instant, the man's grin widened, convinced the light was pouring into him. But then the grin faltered. The glow turned jagged, unnatural. Cracks split across his skin, glowing veins of fire spreading through his arms, across his chest, up into his face. His eyes widened with horror as his body began to fracture, pieces of him splintering like brittle glass. No, wait. His words ended in a final, guttural scream as his body shattered into fragments. Dust, glass, shards of light scattering into the night wind. Where he had stood was nothing but a faint shimmer in the air, quickly swallowed by darkness. The group recoiled in collective horror. Some screamed, others staggered back, clutching their own marks as if to protect them. The lesson was carved in silence. This gift was not meant to be stolen, nor forced, nor claimed by greed. It was not a prize. It was a burden, and every one of them now understood. Those who tried to bend it to their will would be broken instead. The voice spoke one last time, resonating deeper than thunder, softer than breath, as though the earth itself carried the words into their bones. This Saturday was the awakening. The days ahead will be your trial. But remember, beauty is born from unity, and your marks are the seeds of what must come. The ground pulsed beneath them, their marks blazing in unison like stars drawn from the same constellation. The lights surged upward, swallowing the night, until the park was nothing but brilliance. No sky, no river, no shadows, only radiance too vast to comprehend. Then, in a heartbeat, it was over. The crowd was gone. One moment they stood together, trembling in the presence of the impossible, and the next each chosen was torn away, scattered across the world like sparks from the same flame. No goodbyes, no warning, simply pulled back into the lives they once knew, though nothing would ever be ordinary again. Maya gasped as her vision cleared. She was standing in her bedroom, the faint hum of her desk lamp the only sound. The air was still, as though the world outside hadn't shifted, as though no revelation had just torn through the fabric of reality. But the mark on her wrist glowed softly, alive, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. She touched it with trembling fingers, half expecting it to vanish like a dream. It did not. Her chest rose and fell in uneven breaths. Fear lingered, but so did wonder. The weight of the visions pressed heavily against her mind, But beneath it all was something else. A seed, fragile yet undeniable. Something had awakened. Something had been set in motion. And for the first time, Maya understood this wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning of something beautiful and terrifying that had only just begun. Weeks later, the world began to shift. Disasters slowed. Conflicts cooled. Strangers reached out with kindness they didn't understand. Maya met others online, those who had been at the park. They shared dreams, visions, and the same unshakable feeling. They were not waiting for miracles anymore. They were the miracle, and Saturday was only the beginning.